Indy was talking a lot about being more physical. And I felt like they were hinting around saying OKC gets away with a lot more physical contact than we do, and we're not going to get the calls. I interpreted that as, okay, if these are the terms of engagement, we're going to be a lot more physical too. Is that the thing that you think? I won't say Rick Carlisle's going to push that as the button, but is that the major non-schematical but just attitude adjustment that Indiana can make between now and game 3?
Yeah, I think the answer is an emphatic yes. I think it's somewhat overdue in general in these playoffs against OKC, like not just Indiana. There's a weird vibe with OKC opponents where this is something I've thought about, where I don't know if it's the respect for the organization and what they've built. I don't know if it's SGA and the fact that he's just not a controversial character. And so he doesn't inspire, like, forget about the free throw merchant stuff. He doesn't really inspire irritation like Tyrese does, like some of these other guys do. For some reason, the Thunder opponents have been way too polite all the way through the playoffs.
Yes.
And there's these little moments, yeah, like these little moments where you see the impact of some aggression. So Jaden McDaniels in the last round decides to just shove SGA to the ground. And I'm not saying that won them that game, but like, my God, this is a tough game. Like, let's kind of like show some edge. You know, who was it the other night? Andrew Nemhard, pushing SGA a little bit. And actually, I think SGA started that. Like, that's the one thing missing from this OKC playoff run is like everybody for their opponents is like, if they're going to win the chip, like just make sure you punch them in the mouth along the way. You know what I mean? And obviously not literally, but it's playoff basketball. It's a time in the NBA when there is, the more defense being allowed right now. They've changed the whistle to where defense is back to a certain extent. So I do think, especially when on paper your team can't keep up with the other squad, which is I think what most people would say about the Pacers versus the Thunder. You got to go. This is up your alley. You got to go a little bit Pistons bad boys and muck it up before this thing is over.
Sam, you bring up an interesting point, and I thought about this yesterday, and I wrote it a little bit. I wrote it as like a sentence, but I didn't say it like emphatically as you just did. We need to get a little more physicality, a little more dislike in this series. If there is a complaint, and I'm not one of these ratings merchants with a Nielsen box, right? But if you're telling me that the playoffs have been through 4 rounds, all the physicality, all the dislike, all of the heat, right? Almost like wrestling in a way, where you're like, you can really feel like the two teams don't like each other. And that's something that the fans have gotten into. Every series kind of had a personality of its own. Like even previous finals have had personalities of its own where it just sort of stands by itself and you could see, what terms everything's going to be played on. Remember LeBron pushing Steph and sort of standing over him and barking at him. We still don't know what he said. We just caught it, right? But that level
I think
of
he told him to take out the garbage or something. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. Something
Yeah.
like that. I think it was something along the lines of, who the do you think I am? I'm not a mind reader, a lip reader, but I feel like it was something like that. I feel like that's what it was, right? The last thing I can remember, like you said, Jaden McDaniels pushed him. It's like, that's a foul. Pushed Shai and said, that's a foul. Anthony Edwards was so incensed with Shai's, foul merchant acting and all of that he threw the ball at him. Like not like hard, but just sort of tossed the ball at him and got a technical foul. You're going to have to play the game in ways that show that you don't respect them. You respect them as an opponent or a competitor, but screw them.
Right.
And I don't say that like, forget Oklahoma City. I'm saying that from the standpoint of you are going for basketball's ultimate prize. And this atmosphere in this building, Sam, is going to be electric. They can't have a whiteout because some people here don't know how to act when it's a whiteout. They can have a gold out, not a whiteout. But you got to have that type of sort of aggression. And I think they have a couple honorary dudes, the Pacers. I think Tyrese Haliburton he's more, how do I put this, Sam? He's more little brother, right? He gives little brother energy where he annoys the hell out of you. You know what I mean? And you're
Right.
just trying to get under maybe Shai's skin in that sort of way. Miles Turner is a big man. Pascal Siakam is a grown man. James Johnson is on that bench. I would not be opposed to sending that man in there to commit a hard foul or two and call it a day. Like Sam, I think you're onto something there.
I'm going to add Andrew Nemhard to the list. I talked to James
Yes,
Johnson the other
yes.
day about how, shameless plug, our athletic anonymous player poll that we do every year always coronates James Johnson as the toughest player in the NBA. And so it was actually really interesting. Somebody asked James, who on this team would you least like to fight and like most rock with? And he actually was raving about Nemhard and the fact that he doesn't put up with anything. So they do have tough guys. Um, and again, here's the the magical matchup, or I guess the energy I would like to see in this series is give me a little bit more of the Rockets' identity and the Rockets' swagger and their vibe defensively, and the way that Amen Thompson and Dylan Brooks and that group tried to absolutely beat the hell out of Steph Curry when they played
Mm-hmm.
him. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's not happening against SGA, and that is the only way that SGA can be slowed down. And it strikes me that you could have an all-time great like Steph who's still playing with his peak powers, and nobody was trying to be nice with him. And I'm not saying the Pacers are being nice with SGA, but they're just
Yes,
playing
they are.
defense.
No, they
Yeah,
are
I mean
being nice.
the Rockets were like we're gonna try to eat you alive, and next thing you know, I mean that's obviously a product of Ime Udoka and the culture he's created, and the Pacers are to this point going about it a different way, and I think we're on the same page that they might need to rethink that.
Yeah, a little too much respect. I'm sorry. I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not a fan of all this nice basketball. Knock somebody on their
sure,
ass and see how tough they are. With
right.
that said, because you just brought up SGA and how he is difficult to guard. So this came from producer Dakota. I thought this was a great question, so I'm not taking any credit for it. If you could pick a defender, past or present, to defend Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, considering the rules, considering the skill set and everything else, who would you pick?
So you guys gave me a little sneak preview on the question that I was trying to chew on these past couple minutes. The stream of consciousness answer is not exactly outside the box. I mean, Scotty is the first one that I thought of. I mean, just the idea of that length and that aggression. And, I mean, I think SGA would have a hell of a time doing his thing against Scottie Pippen. And then a little more modern and not the guy right now, but if you go back and give me like third year, fourth year San Antonio Spurs, Kawhi Leonard, when defense was the first thing he did, when he was defense player of the year, we thought he was going to win, six of them. That guy who hadn't even really figured out how to score yet who, even had a championship ring as a really shocking role player and a rising star. I'll probably go with those two guys.
Kawhi was the name that I thought of for the exact same reasons. A, because he has the base to be able to defend you and you're not going to move him off a spot. He was incredibly disciplined. Like he wasn't a guy to bite on pump fakes. So he's not going to bite off of Shai trying to lean into him and force him to be out of position. He got those big mitts. So he could,
Mm-hmm.
if physicality is allowed, I can steer you where I want you to go. The
Right.
player from the past that I thought of, it was two players from the past I thought of. One more recent and one back. The more recent past player was Gary Payton, because Gary was 6'4", low to the ground, very long arms, very quick. Once again, also disciplined, but Gary was going to reach. Gary was going to make you uncomfortable. Gary was going to get all in your space, and I think
Right.
that's the thing. Um, in the way back machine, I hate saying this way back machine, but as far as an
You
80s,
make
90s
both of us feel
defender,
old. Yeah,
yeah, like my childhood defender, uh, Joe Dumars. For to
sure.
me, Shai is 6'6", Joe was 6'3", but Joe was able to defend Mike because he had a great low center of gravity. He didn't reach, but he had really quick hands and good hands, and he had great positioning and could steer you to help. anybody that's taking too many risks on Shai, I feel like you're taking a chance. You're taking a chance of getting in foul trouble, but you got to do things to make them uncomfortable. So that's where Gary Payton fits in. But Kawhi Leonard, I think we both kind of agree with there.
We do. I'm gonna amend my answer because it just hit me, and this is actually now the dream matchup that you know, if we could do this on NBA 2K or something, that would be fun. Because the funny part is, and you tell me, you're the more the expert on this topic. Like in that dream matchup, is Scotty even gonna guard SGA or is it Mike? You know, like so now, like the idea of peak Michael Jordan, you know, that puts a little smile on my face. The idea of Mike actually playing against SGA and doing what he did defensively, you know, would be a lot of fun. And as an aside, it's a credit to SGA, and I know this is sacrilege, but like, man, it's a very small sample size at this point compared to Michael, but that's the thing that I think people need to start waking up to. I know the eras are different. I'm not trying to say that,
Hmm.
you know, we just chronicled that SGA is not going through a playoff, you know, battle zone in the type of way that Mike did as he's going through the Pistons and all these teams. But in terms of production, that is the statistical profile that he is putting together is literally Michael Jordan type playoff runs. But to your question on the defensive stuff, that'd be a whole lot of fun to watch Mike try to lock SGA up.
The reason I wouldn't say Mike is because while Michael was a great and exceptional position defender, once again, really big hands, exceptionally quick, Mike was reaching. Mike was trying to get
Sure.
in front of you and all that. And maybe, and same thing with Gary, but I felt like Mike took more chances. And that may wind up putting you in unfortunate positions. Nah, but if you're putting Bulls, early 90s Bulls against this team, I say early 90s Bulls more so than late 90s Bulls just because of ages, then you got to put Scotty on Jalen Williams and take your
Yeah,
chances,
exactly. Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
and take your chances there because you can't have BJ or John Paxson or whoever the point guard of the day was for that particular team. But that's an interesting thing because Michael is stronger than Scotty, like lower center of gravity, so he was going to be able to move you and probably get away with a little more physicality, whereas Scotty was going to try to use his length just to, you know, he could play off of you. Mike was trying to
right.
get in you.